So hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today is 16 May 2025. So we will going to discuss the all four editorials of the Hindu section. So but before that we will discuss one news which is very important. That is put Pakistan nuclear arsenal under IAEA watch, says India. So basically IAEA means International Atomic Energy Agency. So basically, what is that? So it's a intergovernmental organization that seeks to promote the peaceful use of nuclear energy and to inhibit its use for any military purpose, including nuclear weapons. Okay, so basically, uh, India, through Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, has raised concern about how Pakistan is handling its nuclear weapons. He called their behavior irresponsible and questioned the safety of Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. Basically, India is suggesting that this weapon should be placed under the international supervision, that is specifically by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which checks whether the nuclear programs are being used safely or not, and not for the war. So this was the message from the India to the Pakistan. So now we will going to discuss the editorials of the Hindu. Uh, सो आज के आर्टिकल बहुत ही अच्छे हैं. सो आर्टिकल है पैराडॉक्स ऑफ अप्रोच टू द मणिपुर इशू. सो वी विल डिस्कस दिस अच्छे तरीके से वी विल डिस्कस दिस. सो पहले मैं बैकग्राउंड देता हूँ. व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन मणिपुर. Like imagine a part of our country, like Manipur. We will see on a map. So here you can see the Manipur. This is our para India. We have Manipur northeast state. Part of country facing violence, displacement, and fear for 2 whole years. Okay, and still there is अभी तक कोई clear solution नहीं आया उसके ऊपर. So that's what happening in Manipur. वही मणिपुर में हो रहा है. That is the northeast state in India. उसमें ओवर 250 lives have been lost. 250 लोगों की जान गई है. Thousands have been displaced and villages have been burned. But here's a shocking part: the issue doesn't seem to be treated national priority by the central government. सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इसको एक नेशनल प्रायोरिटी देके नहीं चल रहा है, ऐसा ऑथर का और एडिटोरियल जो है लिखा है उनका मानना है. While incidents like terror attack in Palagam immediately drew national attentions and actions, including changes in Prime Minister Modi's travel plans, but the Manipur conflict has not received the same urgency. So ऐसा क्यों है, ऐसा जो ऑथर है वो बोल रहे हैं. सो द पैराडॉक्स क्या है इसमें, why so much silence from the center? This is what the editorial calls the paradox, means a situation that doesn't make sense. Despite the scale of the violence and human sufferings, there has been no visit from the minister, no national address, and no strong roadmap to resolve the issue. It almost feels like able to Delhi, that is central government. Security, security first mindset. New Delhi often looks at a northeast through the national security lens. That means if there is a no direct threat to the national borders or from countries like China or Pakistan, the issue doesn't get top priority. मतलब कंट्री के बॉर्डर पे कुछ हो रहा है तभी सेंटर एक्शन लेगा, प्रायोरिटी देगा उसको, अदरवाइज वो प्रायोरिटी नहीं देगा एज अ नेशनल प्रायोरिटी. Unlike Kashmir, where India faces international attentions and border threats, Manipur is seen as an internal issue, and this has led to neglect. वही रीजन है कि मणिपुर एक इंटरनल इशू है, इसीलिए सेंटर उसको टॉप प्रायोरिटी नहीं दे रहा है, ऐसा ऑथर का मानना है. बट हियर इज अ ट्विस्ट, इधर एक प्रॉब्लम है. सम लीडर्स ट्राई टू क्रिएट सेंस ऑफ एक्सटर्नल थ्रेट एनीवे. इन 2024 in 2024, okay, a message came from the Manipur Chief Minister Office warning 900 cookies militants crossing over from the Manipur with rocket launchers. You can see here. But this turned out to be more of fear campaign than real threat. ये एक फियर का कैंपेन था rather than real threat. Now coming to the internal divide in Manipur, actually basically there are two communities are there in Manipur, Maitis versus Kukis. So violence in the Manipur is between the Maitis community that mostly stays in the valley and the Kukis, Zomi, Hamar tribes that stays in hills. The government created buffer zone between them. Okay, government created buffer zone between them, but there is what's worrying. Some valley-based armed groups, that is Maitis community, armed groups have become so strong that even laws and orders is being handed over to them unofficially. मतलब वही सरकार चला रही है उधर का, ऐसा उनका कहना है. Law and order. One such a group, like Arambai Tengol, even marched publicly and surrendered weapons. But most of most of these were old country-made guns. No real actions was taken against the armed groups. Then comes to the security that versus optics, a case of fencing as a obsolete outlook. Instead of fixing real problems like improving intelligence, modernizing the army, and stopping illegal arms, the central government is focusing on optics. Fancy announcement has been made. The symbolic action spending rupees 31,000 crore to build a fence along the India-Myanmar border, even when local communities like Nagas and Mizos are clearly opposing it. Why build a wall when you haven't built trust yet? That is the question. So what's the way forward? I think the president rule imposed in February 2025 was damage control move, not a bold solution. So what we need is a real dialogue between the two communities, Maitis and Cookies, trust building the tribal groups, recovery of illegal arms, not stake surrender, and most importantly, national level political will. So here are the questions for viewers. Why do you think Manipur is not a national political priority like Kashmir we have? Second question is, should the government spend more on fencing borders or rebuilding the peace internally? Do you believe politics are replacing real actions in national security issue? And lastly, can you name any news channel that have been consistently covering the Manipur issue, or has it gone silent in media too? So these are the questions which you must write the answers and give in the comment section. Then another articles we will look at, the yearly thank you to nurse is not enough. So I will give you the why this editorialism matters. Uh, so May 12 is celebrated as International Nurse Day. Every year on this day, we post thank you nurses message on social media here and there. Hospital might even organize the small functions, and that's all about it. But this editorial from the Hindu is not about celebration. It's all about wake up call. It says a yearly thank you is not enough. Despite nurses forming almost half of the India's healthcare workforce, they are still seen as an assistant to doctors, not as a leaders or decision makers. Okay, uh, that mindset need to be changed right now. Uh, what this editorial actually says, India needs nurse practitioner, that is NPs. Okay, you can see here, nurse practitioners, just like many other countries already have that. Basically, who are the NPs? That is nurse practitioner. They are highly trained nurses, often with a master's degree, who can diagnose illness, prescribe medicines, lead clinics independently. In countries like Australia, UK, US, Brazil, NPs are trusted with clinical autonomy and are helping fill gaps in healthcare sectors, especially in rural and undeserved areas. Now, here is a twist. Indian nurses are doing amazing work abroad in these NP roles, but in India, they are still stuck in outdated system. What's holding India back? So first one is no clear legal framework. That is absence of clear legal framework. Okay. Uh, who give NPs the license? What are they legally allowed to do? Where is their place in a public healthcare system? All is unclear right now. The medical community resistance. Some doctors see this as a threat to their authority. Gender and hierarchy bias. Since most nurses are women, the traditional system treats them as subordinates, not professional with autonomy. So, weak nursing movements. Unlike doctors or teachers, nurses in India don't have strong collective voices in policy making. Okay, so what can we learn from Australia? That is very important. That is lessons from the Australia. Australia made NP roles works by passing clear laws and licenses, recognizing NP as a protected title, supporting nurse-led models like walk-in clinics. This was not just a healthcare move; it was a political decision to empower nurses. Can India do the same? Tell me in the comment section. What needs to happen now? Legal recognition of NPs with licensing and responsibility. Number two, close down substandard nursing colleges. Uh, Number three, train more high quality faculty. You can see here. Then give nurses a career path and fair pay and leadership roles. Create a policy environment where nurses can shape the healthcare futures. So this needs to be happen now in India. So also I have questions for you. Do you think nurses in India are given enough respect and decision-making power? Number two question: should India allow nurse practitioner to prescribe and diagnose like the US and UK? Have you or someone you know experienced great care from a nurse? Share your story in the comment section. Why do you think Indian nurses abroad but not at home in India? So a yearly thanking you is not enough. If India wants real, accessible, affordable healthcare, nurses must be seen as a more than caregivers. They must be leaders and decision makers in the system. The question is, will India let its nurses lead the future? So this was a good article about nurses. Then we have another article under control. Low retail inflation is a good news for the consumers and policymakers. So this article is directly connected to your daily life, your grocery bills, your fuel prices, and your home loans, EMIs. So I will give you some background about this editorial. Uh, it says retail inflation in April hit a 69-month low. That's the lowest in nearly 6 years. Also, wholesale inflation, which tracks prices for business, is the lowest in 13 months. Meaning prices are not rising as fast as before. That's good news, right? But let's understand why, how, and what next. So, what is a real retail inflation and why should we care? So, उसको समझने की क्यों जरूरत है और रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन क्या है वो हम समझते हैं अभी. Basically, retail inflation is basically how much more you and I are paying for goods like vegetables, groceries, pulses, clothes, etc. If inflation is very high, your monthly expenses go up and your salary feels smaller. If the inflation opposite is inflation is low, things are more affordable and your money stretches further. This editorial says April inflation is under control and that's great for you and for economic policymakers. So why did one question will arise? Why did inflation fall? The big drop in vegetables prices. That is, the prices fell 11% mainly because last year they were super high because of the base effect. Okay. Second one is the pulses become cheaper, about 5.2 percentage lower. Government, third is government played a smart role. What they have done, built up buffer stock of essential goods, conduct open market release, allow more imports to handle the shortages. Also, bank face liquidity crunch, means less money in the system, means people and companies spend less, means prices didn't rise fast. But keep in mind, these prices drops are partly due to last year's spikes. So this year seems calm in a comparison. Now, one would ask, what is the wholesale inflation? The wholesale inflation tracks how much businesses are paying for bulk goods, and it also fell sharply because of falling vegetables and crude oil prices. So, what does it mean for the government and Reserve Bank of India? That is, RBI might cut interest rates again in its next monetary policy meeting. That means cheaper home loans, car loans, and business loan in coming years, coming time. Second is fuel prices should be reduced. The crude oil prices have fallen 42 percentage. You can see in the last 3 years, but our petrol diesel prices haven't changed much. It will says if fuel prices don't change now, the government should stop pretending we follow dynamic pricing, where the prices changes daily. So what can still affect inflation going ahead? There will be monsoon. That is, if it fails, food prices could rise again. Second one is global trade tension. That is, tariffs and import bans can impact our cost. Third one is GDP growth. That is, RBI will also watch how fast our economy is growing before cutting rates. Then this editorial matters to you because your monthly grocery bills are impacted by the inflation. Your EMIs depends on RBI's interest rate decision. Fuel prices staying high hurts everyone, even if global prices falls. So inflation being under control is not just an economic term; it's directly tied to your wallet and lifestyle. So question for you. So drop your comments in the comment section. Have you noticed prices going down in the last few months in vegetables, pulses, or fuels? Number two questions. Do you think the government should reduce the fuel prices now? Third question will be, should RBI cut interest rate further to support the growth? And last question is, do you trust the current pricing system of petrol and diesel in India? So, so we don't just need inflation under control. We need a fair pricing, transparent policies, and smart action. So this was a good article, good editorial as of now. Last editorial we will discuss. It's a new beginning. Syria should dismantle armed groups and adopt inclusive constitution. Uh, why it is making global headlines? This new beginning. What it teaches us about conflicts and governance and peace. This is not just about Syria. This is about how countries recover from the war, how the world responds, and what happens when armed groups try to run governments. Trust me, this story sounds like a Netflix series. Okay, but it's very real. So grab your cup of chai and coffee and let's get started to this article, which is very important. So let me give you some background. Syria has been in a civil war since 2011. After protests broke out against its then dictator Bashar al-Assad, the war led to millions of deaths and displacements. And the different groups, that is rebel, terrorist, militants, all grabbed power in different parts of Syria. Now fast forward to 2025, and here is a shocking twist. A man named Ahmed al-Shahra, once known as Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, a global terrorist and leader of Al-Qaeda branch in Syria, is now running the country. That is the president. He is the current president of the Syria. He is meeting world leaders, getting welcomed by big names like Trump, Macron, and even Saudi Crown Prince MBS. What editorial is trying to say in simple words, like, can a former terrorist really build a peaceful and inclusive Syria? जो जो आदमी एक टाइम पे टेररिस्ट था वो सीरिया को पीसफुल एंड इंक्लूसिव सीरिया बनाएगा. So let break it down. A global acceptance. Ahmed Al Shara is getting support from powerful countries like United States, which has lifted the sanctions. Second one is France, taking hands with Syria, and Arab nations are ready to invest in Syria. Why? Because the countries want stability. But the promise versus reality, we have to know. The president promises democracy, women's rights, minority protection. Sounds good, right? But on the ground, violence continues in Syria. Hundreds of Alawites killed, Druze and Kurdish minorities attacked. Calls for decentralization governance are being ignored. So it's like saying, I will build a peaceful house while the walls are still on fire. The message from the editorials is that if Syria really wants a new beginning, the HTS-led government must dismantle extremist armed groups and adopt new inclusive constitution. Otherwise, Syria could become another Libya or Afghanistan that is stuck in endless chaos. Okay. So key takeaways from this editorial is the peace is not just about power; it's about justice, trust, and equal rights. You can't run a modern country with the guns and promise alone. Third one is global recognition doesn't mean internal peace. And fourth one is true nation building must include everyone, especially minorities. So, audience, I have questions for you. Can a former terrorist really become a good national leader? Why or why not? The second question will be: do you think powerful countries like United States and France are doing the right things by supporting him? Third question: what lessons should India learn from Syria's story about peace and governance? And last question will be: if you were in a charge of Syria, what's the first thing you will do to bring the peace? So, if someone, let me ask you, if someone once led a violent groups, but now wears a suit and talks peace, should we trust them immediately, or should they prove themselves first by disarming and showing real change? Uh, so, friends, the story of the Syria is not just about the country; it's reminder of what can we go wrong when violence becomes normal, and what needs to go right if we want real peace. So, let's hope Syria truly gets a new beginning. So, friends, if you like the session, don't forget to like, comment, and share and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in the next live. Thank you.